Hello students, myself Mrs. Manisha Devilkar, and today we are going to learn Science and Technology Part 2. In this Chapter 2, Life Processes Part 1, we are going to discuss. Now students, we are going to see the meaning of life processes. What is the meaning of life process? As you know that you have studied from the primary classes about various characteristics in the living organisms. In these characteristics, you have basically studied about movement and growth. And here later on in the later classes you studied about digestion, you studied about respiration, but now here in standard 10th we are going to get more detail about all these life processes. Now students, through these life processes we are going to differentiate between the living and non-living things, and for that it is very important for us to understand the meaning of life processes. So the life processes are the processes which define our life, and these processes are very useful to survive and to live a healthy life. So which are these processes students? As you all know that nutrition, digestion, respiration, circulation, excretion, coordination, reproduction, movement and growth. So all these are the life processes which you all are familiar with. But today we are going to see that how the growth occurs in the living organisms, how they can move, and for growing or for the movement they need food, they need the energy, and this energy they obtain from the food. And here you will see this food they get through their nutrition. So dear students, we are going to study in detail about nutrition, digestion and respiration in this chapter. Now when we see that these life processes are very much interdependent, interrelated to one another, and when we see here you will find that they are performing the role in the process of production of energy. Now here we will see the meaning of nutrition. What is the meaning of nutrition? Nutrition is the process by which organisms obtain and utilize the nutrients to perform biological activities. Now here you will see it is a process by which organisms obtain. Now how do they obtain? From where do they obtain? That is a question mark. You know that living organisms means plants and animals. As you all know that plants can prepare their own food as they have chlorophyll pigments in them. They are green in color, they can do photosynthesis and they can obtain their own nutrition. But in the case of animals, as you know that we are heterotrophs, we are depending for our food and nutrition on the other organisms. Now in that process we need to obtain our nutrition from the other organisms, and after obtaining that we have to utilize it properly in our body. So nutrition is actually a branch of science which deals with the study of nutrients. It is dealing with the understanding how we can utilize these nutrients in our body, and it is utilized in a body for performing some biological activities. So what is the meaning of biological activities? Which biological activities do we perform? So biological activities means some physical and physiological activities which need energy. Physical activities like cycling, reading, writing, jumping, so on. Whereas physiological activities like breathing, respiration, here you will see circulation, excretion, all these processes which are going on in a body simultaneously. All these activities also consume lot of energy. So these life processes itself consume lot of energy, and to uh, fulfill the requirement of that energy, we need to have good quantity of nutrients in our body. Now, what is the meaning of nutrients? Nutrients are nothing but the chemical substances which provide nourishment to the body, and these nutrients, they gives us energy for what? To build the tissues, to wear and tear of the tissues and muscles, and to protect our body, as well as to regulate the hormones. So these are the various functions which are performed by these nutrients in our body. Now, which are these nutrients? Yes, can you tell me the nutrients? Yes, these nutrients are carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals, water, and fibers. So, all these nutrients we already have studied in the primary classes, but we do not know the details about these nutrients. And now we will be seeing more about these nutrients. Now, dear students, these nutrients are very important in some less or more proportion in our body. Now, here we will see, once we have taken these nutrients in our body in the form of food, what is next? So, the next is digestion, and how this digestion takes place, and what is the meaning of digestion? Now, here the digestion means breaking of complex food into the simple food. Now, when this is going on, we need to have a proper system, some specific organs for that, and when these organs are assembled together, we have got a proper digestive system in human body. Now, here we will see the diagram of digestive system by which you will understand easily. Now, here you will find the various components of the digestive system are mouth, then we have esophagus, stomach, here we have small intestine, large intestine, right? And along with that we have some digestive glands like salivary gland, liver, and pancreas. Now, dear students, as you all know that when we take the morsel of food in the mouth, what we do? Our 32 soldiers in the mouth will fight with that food, isn't it? And they chew the food so fine that it is broken into this very fine substances. But that is not sufficient. In the mouth we have salivary glands. So these salivary glands, they release the enzymes salivary amylase, and this amylase helps to digest the carbohydrates in the mouth itself, and a soft bolus of that morsel forms with the help of saliva, with the help of amylase, and this carbohydrates from the morsel of food will be transforming into maltose sugar, and that makes that bolus little sweetish in taste. Do you remember? Just experience that. Chew the food for so long time and see how that morsel of food becomes sweet in the mouth. That is all because of the salivary amylase in the mouth. Now, here you will see that when we swallow this morsel or this soft bolus of food, it passes easily through the esophagus, and from esophagus it can enter into the stomach. Now, stomach is a bag-like organ which is having gastric glands in its walls, and these gastric glands are releasing 3 enzymes. These 3 enzymes are mucus, which is protecting the stomach walls from inside from the effects of acid, because the second secretion is hydrochloric acid in the stomach by these gastric glands, and this hydrochloric acid helps to break down the remaining food particles, complex food particles, into the simple food particles. And the third one is pepsin, which helps to digest proteins into the stomach. That is how these three enzymes help to churn the food and to break it down properly into their simple forms, and partially it gets digested in the stomach in the form by the peristaltic movements in the stomach, that is churning of food which takes place continuously in the stomach, that is called as peristaltic movements. And here this partially digested food then enters into the small intestine. When it enters into the small intestine, that entry is controlled by sphincter muscles which are present at the end of the stomach and in the beginning of the intestine. And slowly and partly the food is entering into the small intestine. Now the small intestine, by name it is small, but in fact it is longer in length, very long, but its diameter is very small, and that is why it is called as small intestine. So when the food enters into the small intestine, it is having one more entry point of a common duct into the small intestine. Through this common duct, the intestine receives bile juice, which is actually produced by liver, which is the largest gland of our body. And here you will find that the bile juice which is released by the liver getting stored into the gallbladder. So whenever the food enters into the small intestine, gallbladder starts releasing bile which comes into the small intestine via the common duct. The other part of the duct is connected to the pancreas, which is another digestive gland. Pancreas is also releasing three enzymes here, which is called as pancreatic juice. So that pancreatic juice is having three enzymes altogether, students. Remember the names. These enzymes are trypsin, lipase and pancreatic amylase. Now you all know that trypsin helps to complete breakdown of proteins in the small intestine. Lipase helps to break down of fat globules into the fatty acids, whereas pancreatic amylase helps to break down the carbohydrates into glucose. So this is how you will find that in the small intestine, the alkaline conditions are maintained with the help of bile juice, and this bile also helps to convert large fat molecules into the small fat globules, and ultimately lipase helps to break down these fat globules into fatty acids, and these substances are easily absorbed in the small intestine, in the walls of small intestine, I can say, because villi which are present in the walls of small intestine, and these villi are lined by blood capillaries. So with the help of these blood capillaries, all these nutrients are absorbed in the blood and they are supplied to the various parts of the body. Now what happens to the remaining things which are not getting absorbed? So they will be passing down to the large intestine. Unlike the name, it is large by width but not by length. So here in this large intestine also villi are present. They will try to absorb all the remaining important nutrients which are not absorbed by the small intestine. So complete absorption is done in the large intestine, and absolutely waste matter will be sent to the rectum, and through rectum it is through the anus it is thrown out of the body. That is how we get elimination of toxic and waste substances from our body. So altogether today you have understood about the alimentary canal. So this one alimentary canal which is having two systems together, one is the digestive system and the second one is the last part is of excretory system. Now what happens to these nutrients once they are absorbed in the blood? That we are going to study here in the next topic. Now here students, you know that the process of release of energy is respiration. Now you know this also, that respiration is done in a body with the help of respiratory system. right? And in this respiratory system, various components are present, like nostrils are there, nasal cavity is there, pharynx is there, which is a opening in the throat area, then the larynx you will find, then here you will see that the trachea, which we say windpipe also. So this trachea is there. After that trachea, the trachea is bifurcated into two parts. So we can see that it is going into the both lungs, and those two branches are called as bronchi. Each one bronchus is further branched into bronchioles, and every bronchiole is attached with large number of alveoli. Now these alveoli are the sac-like structures, small structure, which enables to provide the larger surface area for the exchange of gases. So this is how you will find in the human respiratory system, we are actually using it for inhalation, exhalation, that is the external respiration. These are the two levels of respiration I can say, and the second level of respiration is internal respiration, which we also called as cellular respiration. Now students, see here once again I will tell you respiration which takes place at two levels. One is external and the second one is internal. External respiration means what? It is simple breathing, which we all are familiar with, and you know that what is breathing. Breathing is inhalation of oxygen and exhalation of carbon dioxide, right? Whereas the second level of respiration is internal respiration, which goes inside the cells of a body. That is why it is also called as cellular respiration. Now this cellular respiration can be of two types, that is aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, right? Now here students will see aerobic respiration means the respiration which is occurring, which takes place in the presence of air or oxygen, and anaerobic respiration which takes place in the absence of air or oxygen. Now here we will see the equation of respiration. So here it is the cell respiration formula. What does it tells you? That when one molecule of glucose, that is C6H12O6, one molecule of glucose is oxidized, means when it is fused with one molecule of oxygen, what happens? It is giving 38 ATP molecules. Right? At a time, one molecule of glucose gives you 38 ATP molecules, and here this is ATP is nothing but adenosine triphosphate, which is a usable form of energy, is getting produced in our body, and the byproducts are carbon dioxide and water. So here in this way the respiration takes place. Now here students, if I give you a lot of food to eat and you are made to sit in a closed room, there is no AC, no ventilation, then too you will start suffocating over there. You will feel exhausted, you will feel tired. Why is it so? Because you are not going to get oxygen supply, constant oxygen supply. And here you will understand now that this oxygen is so important to release energy in our body, and that is why students, you please remember the definition of respiration. What is it? The process of release of energy in a body is called as respiration.